The morning started like any other Tuesday for Emma Torres. She woke up at 5:30, made herself a cup of instant coffee, and checked on her daughter Sophia, who was still sleeping peacefully in their tiny shared bedroom. Emma looked at the alarm clock and calculated in her head. If she left by 6:15, she could make it to her first cleaning job by 7, finish by 9, bike across town to the restaurant where she worked lunch shift, then make it back in time to pick up Sophia from school at 3. She moved quietly around their small apartment, gathering her cleaning supplies and packing a lunch of yesterday's leftover rice and beans. Money was tight, tighter than it had ever been. The medical bills from Sophia's asthma treatment last year had wiped out every penny of their savings, and Emma was still paying them off in tiny increments. But she never complained. Sophia was healthy now, and that was all that mattered. Emma stepped outside into the cool morning air and unlocked her bicycle from the rusty railing. The bike was ancient, probably older than she was. She had found it at a garage sale 3 years ago for $20, and it had been her faithful companion ever since. The paint was chipped, the seat was held together with duct tape, and the brakes squeaked something terrible, but it got her where she needed to go. She pedaled through the quiet streets of the city, watching as the sky gradually lightened from deep purple to soft pink. This was her favorite time of day, when the world felt peaceful and full of possibility. The wealthy neighborhood where she cleaned houses was about 4 miles away, and the ride gave her time to think, to plan, to dream about a better future for Sophia. Emma had big dreams for her daughter. Sophia was smart, so smart. Her teachers said she could be anything she wanted to be. Emma wanted to make sure Sophia had every opportunity she never had. College, a good career, a life where she never had to worry about choosing between buying groceries or paying the electricity bill. As Emma rode through the intersection of Madison and Fifth Avenue, she was thinking about Sophia's upcoming birthday. She would be 9 years old in 2 weeks. Emma had been saving $5 here, $10 there, hoping to have enough to buy Sophia the book set she had been dreaming about. The girl loved to read more than anything in the world. Emma smiled to herself, lost in thought, about how happy Sophia would be. She was approaching the intersection at Riverside Drive, pedaling steadily. The light was green, she had the right of way. She glanced left, then right, then started across. She never saw it coming. The sleek black luxury car appeared out of nowhere, running the red light at what must have been 50 miles an hour. Emma's heart stopped. She grabbed her brakes hard, too hard. The old bicycle's wheels locked up and began to skid. She tried to swerve, but it was too late. Her front wheel collided directly with the rear passenger door of the car with a sickening crunch. Everything happened in slow motion. Emma felt herself flying over the handlebars. She hit the pavement hard, her shoulder taking most of the impact. Pain exploded through her body. She heard the screech of tires, the sound of metal scraping against metal, and then everything was still. For a moment, Emma just lay there on the cold pavement, trying to breathe, trying to understand what had just happened. Her shoulder throbbed with a deep, aching pain. Her palms were scraped raw. She could feel something warm trickling down her forehead. Blood. She heard a car door open, then footsteps approaching rapidly. Emma tried to sit up, panic flooding through her. The car, the expensive car. She looked over and saw it clearly for the first time. It was a Bentley, glossy and black, and probably worth more than she would make in 10 years. And now there was a horrible dent in the side, right where her bicycle had hit it. Her bicycle. Emma looked around frantically and saw it lying several feet away, the front wheel bent at an impossible angle, the frame twisted. It was completely destroyed. Her eyes filled with tears. How would she get to work now? How would she pick up Sophia from school? How would she afford a new bike? The footsteps stopped beside her. Emma looked up, squinting against the morning sun. She saw polished leather shoes, perfectly pressed charcoal gray pants, and then a man's face as he crouched down beside her. He was in his mid-30s, with dark hair, striking blue eyes, and a face that belonged on a magazine cover. He was wearing a suit that probably cost more than her monthly rent. This was bad. This was so bad. Emma's mind raced. She had hit his car, his very expensive car. She had no insurance, no money, no way to pay for the damage. She was going to be sued. She was going to lose everything. Sophia would have to go live with her sister. Emma felt like she might throw up. The man spoke, and his voice was surprisingly gentle. "Do not move. You hit your head. You might have a concussion." "I am so sorry," Emma gasped out, trying to sit up despite the pain. "I am so sorry about your car. The light was green. I swear it was green. I had the right of way. But I will pay for the damage, I promise. I will figure out a way to pay." The man held up a hand. "Please, just stay still. I am calling an ambulance." "No!" The word came out sharper than Emma intended. She tried again, her voice shaking. "No ambulance. Please, I cannot afford it. I am fine. I am okay." The man frowned, studying her face. "You are bleeding. Your shoulder looks dislocated. You need medical attention." "I am fine," Emma repeated firmly. She managed to push herself up to a sitting position, biting back a cry of pain. She could not afford an ambulance. She could not afford an emergency room visit. She already had medical bills she could not pay. This would ruin her completely. The man looked like he wanted to argue, but something in Emma's expression must have stopped him. He stood up and looked around at the intersection. There were a few other cars stopped now, their drivers staring at the scene. One woman was recording everything on her phone. The man walked over to Emma's destroyed bicycle and examined it carefully. Then he looked at his Bentley, at the large dent in the passenger door. He walked back to Emma, who was now standing, though unsteadily. She could barely put weight on her left leg. "I am Alexander Chase," the man said, extending his hand, then quickly withdrawing it when he saw Emma's scraped palms. "What is your name?" "Emma Torres," she whispered. She could feel tears streaming down her face now, mixing with the blood from the cut on her forehead. "I am so sorry about your car. I will pay for it. I will work extra shifts. I will figure it out." Alexander was staring at her intently. "Miss Torres? I ran a red light. This accident was entirely my fault. I was on an important phone call and I was not paying attention. I should be apologizing to you." Emma blinked in confusion. "What?" "I ran the red light," Alexander repeated. "You had the right of way. I could have killed you. Are you sure you do not want me to call an ambulance?" Emma shook her head, trying to process what he was saying. "You are not going to sue me?" "Sue you?" Alexander looked genuinely shocked. "Miss Torres, I almost killed you because I was being careless. I am the one who should be worried about being sued." Emma did not know what to say. This was not how she expected this to go. Rich people, in her experience, were not kind. They did not take responsibility. They had lawyers and insurance companies that protected them from people like her. Alexander pulled out his phone. "At least let me call you a taxi to take you to the hospital or home or wherever you need to go." "I need to go to work," Emma said automatically. "I have a house to clean by 7. If I am late, I will lose the job." Alexander looked at his watch. "It is 6:45. Where do you need to go?" "Willow Creek Estates, the Henderson house." Alexander's eyebrows rose slightly. "That is where I live. I will drive you." Emma stared at him. "You cannot be serious." "I am completely serious. You cannot walk there, and your bicycle is destroyed. It is the least I can do." Emma wanted to refuse, but her shoulder was killing her, her leg was throbbing, and she had no other way to get to work. And she could not lose this job. The Hendersons paid well, and they always tipped extra during the holidays. "Okay," she said quietly. "Thank you." Alexander walked over to the twisted bicycle and examined it more closely. "This cannot be repaired," he said. "I will replace it." Emma's pride flared up. "I don't need charity." "It is not charity. I destroyed your bicycle. I will replace it. It is only fair." He pulled out his phone again and made a call. Someone answered immediately. James, I need you to come to the corner of Riverside and 5th. Bring the truck. I need you to pick up a damaged bicycle and take it to be disposed of properly. Yes, right away. Thank you." He hung up and turned back to Emma. "My assistant will be here in 10 minutes. Let me help you to the car." Emma hesitated, then nodded. As they walked slowly toward the Bentley, she could not help but notice the dent she had put in it. It looked expensive to fix. Very expensive. "I really am sorry about your car," she said again. Alexander opened the passenger door for her. "It is just a car, Miss Torres. Cars can be repaired or replaced. People cannot. I am just grateful you were not more seriously hurt." Emma carefully lowered herself into the passenger seat, trying not to bleed on the pristine leather interior. The inside of the car smelled like expensive cologne and new leather. There was a laptop open in the back seat, papers scattered everywhere, an empty coffee cup in the holder. This was a man who worked in his car, she realized. That was probably why he had run the red light. He had been distracted by work. Alexander got in the driver's side and started the engine. It purred to life, smooth and quiet. Where exactly in Willow Creek Estates? 42 Maple Drive, the Henderson house. "I know it," Alexander said. "They are my neighbors. I live at 38 Maple Drive." Of course he did. Emma looked down at her dirty work clothes, at her scraped and bleeding hands, at her old sneakers with the hole in the toe. And here she was, sitting in a car that probably cost $200,000, being driven by a millionaire to clean his neighbor's house. They drove in silence for a few minutes. Emma could feel Alexander glancing at her every so often, concern written on his face. Finally he spoke. "Have you been to a doctor recently? For a checkup?" Emma almost laughed. "No, I cannot afford a doctor unless it is an emergency." "When was your last checkup?" Emma thought back. Maybe 3 years ago, when she had needed to get some forms filled out for Sophia's school. Alexander's jaw tightened, but he did not say anything else. They pulled into Willow Creek Estates, past the guard gate that the guard opened without question when he saw Alexander's car. They drove down perfectly manicured streets lined with enormous houses, each one more impressive than the last. Alexander pulled into the driveway of number 42, a massive white colonial with columns and a fountain in the front yard. He put the car in park and turned to Emma. "Miss Torres, I want to make this right. I want to replace your bicycle, and I want to pay for a full medical checkup. You hit your head pretty hard, and your shoulder might be dislocated. You should see a doctor." "I told you, I cannot afford it." "I will pay for it. Consider it my apology for running that red light and ruining your morning." Emma looked at him carefully. She had learned to be suspicious of offers that seemed too good to be true. But there was something genuine in Alexander's eyes, something that made her think he actually meant what he said. "Why are you being so nice to me?" she asked quietly. Alexander was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Because it is the right thing to do. And because I know what it is like to struggle. I was not always wealthy, Miss Torres. I grew up poor, very poor. I know what it feels like to have everything fall apart because of one bad break, one accident, one unexpected expense. If someone had helped me when I needed it most, maybe I would have gotten where I am sooner. Maybe I would have suffered less. So now that I can help, I do. It is that simple." Emma felt tears prickling at her eyes again. She blinked them back. "That is kind of you, but I barely know you. I do not feel comfortable accepting so much help from a stranger." "Then let us not be strangers," Alexander said with a small smile. "I am Alexander Chase. I am 37 years old. I run a technology company that develops software for hospitals. I live alone in an absurdly large house 3 doors down from here. I work too much, I drink too much coffee, and I have been told I am terrible at maintaining friendships because I am always busy. What about you?" Despite everything, Emma found herself smiling slightly. "I am Emma Torres. I am 32 years old. I clean houses and I work lunch shifts at a restaurant called Rosita's. I live in a small apartment with my daughter Sophia. She is 8 years old and she is the smartest, most wonderful person I have ever met. I also work too much, but I cannot afford coffee, so I just drink it instant at home. What happened to Sophia's father? Emma's smile faded. He left when she was 2. I have not heard from him since. I am sorry. Do not be. We are better off without him. Alexander nodded slowly. Well, Emma Torres, now we are not strangers anymore. So, will you please let me help you? Let me replace your bicycle. Let me pay for a doctor's visit. It will make me feel better about almost killing you this morning. Emma looked at the clock on the dashboard. It was already 7:05. She was late. Mrs. Henderson would not be happy. She opened the door carefully, trying not to put too much weight on her injured leg. I have to go to work, she said. Can we talk about this later? Of course. Here. Alexander pulled out his wallet and extracted a business card. This has my personal cell phone number on it. Call me later today, after you finish work, and we will figure everything out, okay? Emma took the card hesitantly. Okay. And Emma, please do get that shoulder looked at. If you need help getting home, call me. I mean it. Emma nodded and closed the door. She watched as Alexander backed out of the driveway and drove 3 houses down to his own mansion. Then she turned and limped up the walkway to the Hendersons' front door. Mrs. Henderson opened the door before Emma could knock. She was a thin woman in her 50s with blonde hair pulled back in a tight ponytail. She looked Emma up and down. "You are late," Mrs. Henderson said coldly. "And you look terrible. What happened to you?" "I was in an accident," Emma explained quickly. "A bicycle accident. I am so sorry I am late. It will not happen again." Mrs. Henderson's expression did not soften. "I expect the house to be cleaned thoroughly despite your tardiness. The guest bathrooms need extra attention. We have people coming for dinner tonight." "Of course, Mrs. Henderson. I will make sure everything is perfect." Emma spent the next 2 hours cleaning, despite the pain in her shoulder and leg. Every time she lifted her arm above her head, she wanted to cry out. But she gritted her teeth and kept working. She could not afford to lose this job. By the time she finished, Mrs. Henderson did a walkthrough inspection and found 3 things wrong: a spot on the bathroom mirror, dust on a bookshelf, and the vacuum cleaner lines in the carpet were not perfectly straight. "I expect better," Mrs. Henderson said, handing Emma her payment in cash. "Yes, ma'am. I apologize again." Emma left the Henderson house and stood on the sidewalk, looking at the long road ahead of her. It was 9:15. She needed to be at Rosita's by 10:30 for the lunch shift. It was 4 miles away. Without her bicycle, she would have to walk. She could not afford an Uber or a taxi. She started walking, each step sending jolts of pain through her leg and shoulder. She had made it about half a mile when a car pulled up beside her. It was the black Bentley. Alexander rolled down the window. "Get in," he said. "I am fine," Emma replied, not stopping. "I can walk." "Emma, you are injured. You are limping. Let me drive you wherever you need to go." "I have to go to work at Rosita's restaurant on 7th Avenue. "Then I will take you to Rosita's restaurant on 7th Avenue. Please, get in the car. You are being stubborn, and it is not good for you." Emma stopped walking and turned to look at him. "Why do you care so much?" Alexander turned off the car and got out. He walked around and stood in front of Emma, his expression serious. "Do you want the honest truth?" he asked. "Always. When I was 19 years old, my mother was hit by a car. The driver was a wealthy businessman who was texting while driving. He ran a red light, just like I did this morning. My mother was walking home from her second job as a night janitor. She was tired. She did not see it coming. The impact threw her 30 feet. She hit her head on the pavement, just like you did this morning." Emma felt her breath catch. "I am so sorry." The driver got out of his car, looked at my mother bleeding on the street, and drove away. He was never caught. My mother died 3 hours later in the hospital. She had no health insurance. The hospital bills bankrupted our family. I had to drop out of college to work to help pay them off. It took me years to get back on my feet." He paused, his jaw working. "So when I ran that red light this morning and saw you fly over those handlebars, all I could think about was my mother. I could have done the same thing to you that driver did to her. I could have taken you away from your daughter. So yes, I care. I care a lot, because I know how easily this could have ended differently. And I know what it is like to be on the other side, to be the family member left behind, drowning in bills and grief." Emma's eyes were full of tears now. She did not try to wipe them away. "I am sorry about your mother," she said softly. "That should never have happened to her. To you. No, it should not have. And what happened to you this morning should not happen either. So please, Emma, let me help you. It is not charity. It is basic human decency. And maybe it is a little bit of me trying to make up for what that driver did all those years ago." Emma looked at this man, this rich, successful man who had every reason to just drive away this morning, to let his insurance company handle everything, to never think about her again. But instead, he was here, offering to help a stranger because of a tragedy in his past that still haunted him. "Okay," she said quietly. "Okay, you can drive me to work." "Thank you," Alexander said with obvious relief. They got back in the car and headed toward Rosita's. During the drive, Alexander asked about Sophia. Emma found herself talking about her daughter, about how smart she was, how much she loved to read, how she wanted to be a veterinarian when she grew up, because she loved animals. "She sounds wonderful," Alexander said. "You must be very proud." "I am. She is everything to me. Everything I do for her." They pulled up in front of Rosita's, a small family-owned Mexican restaurant with bright yellow walls and red awnings. Emma had worked there for 3 years. The owner, Carlos, was a good man who paid her under the table because he knew she needed the money and could not afford to have taxes taken out. "What time do you finish?" Alexander asked. 3 o'clock. Then I have to pick up Sophia from school at 3:30. I will pick you up at 3 and drive you to Sophia's school. No arguments. You cannot walk there on that leg." Emma wanted to argue, but she was too tired and in too much pain. "Thank you," she said simply. She worked her lunch shift in a daze of exhaustion and pain. Her shoulder was getting worse, not better. By the time 3 o'clock rolled around, she could barely lift her left arm. Carlos noticed. "Emma, you look terrible," he said in Spanish, concern in his kind brown eyes. "What happened?" Emma explained about the accident. Carlos shook his head. "You need to see a doctor, mija. That shoulder is not good." "I know. I am working on it." At exactly 3 o'clock, the black Bentley pulled up outside Rosita's. Emma said goodbye to Carlos and walked outside. Alexander got out and opened the door for her again. "How are you feeling?" he asked. "Honestly, pretty terrible. The shoulder is getting worse. I am taking you to the emergency room after we pick up Sophia." "No, you are not. I told you I cannot afford it." "And I told you I am paying for it. Emma, you need medical attention. Your shoulder might need to be put back in place. That is not something you can just ignore." They argued about it the entire drive to Sophia's school. Finally, Emma agreed that if the pain got worse, she would go. Alexander did not look satisfied with this compromise, but he let it drop. They pulled up in front of Jefferson Elementary just as the bell rang. Kids started streaming out of the building, laughing and shouting and pushing each other playfully. Emma scanned the crowd anxiously, and then she saw her, Sophia, with her dark, curly hair in 2 braids, her backpack almost bigger than she was, walking carefully so as not to drop the stack of books she was carrying. "Sophia!" Emma called out the window. Sophia looked up, saw her mother, and her face lit up with a brilliant smile. She ran over to the car, then stopped short when she saw that her mother was in an unfamiliar, very fancy car with a strange man. "Mom?" Sophia's voice was uncertain. Emma got out of the car carefully, trying not to grimace at the pain. "Hey, baby, this is Mr. Chase. He is a friend who was helping us out today. I had a little accident with my bicycle this morning." Sophia's eyes went wide with alarm. "Are you okay? Are you hurt?" "I am fine, sweetie, just a little banged up. Mr. Chase is giving us a ride home." Sophia looked at Alexander suspiciously. She had been taught to be careful around strangers. Alexander seemed to understand this. He stayed in the car and simply gave her a small, friendly wave. "It is nice to meet you, Sophia," he said. "Your mom has told me what a smart reader you are." Sophia's suspicions softened slightly. "I like to read," she admitted. "What are you reading right now?" Sophia held up the book she was carrying. "The Chronicles of Narnia. I am on the 3rd book. It is really good." "Those are excellent books," Alexander said seriously. "I read them when I was about your age. The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, right? That is a good one." Sophia nodded, a small smile appearing on her face. "It is my favorite so far." "Come on, sweetheart," Emma said gently. "Let us get home. I need to lie down for a bit." They all got in the car, Sophia climbing into the back seat with her books. Alexander drove them to their apartment building, a run-down 3-story structure with peeling paint and broken steps. Emma saw him take it all in, but his expression did not change. He did not judge. He simply pulled up in front and put the car in park. "Thank you for the ride," Emma said. "For everything, really." "Wait," Alexander said as Emma started to open the door. "I want to talk to you about something. Can we meet tomorrow, maybe for coffee?" "I don't have time for coffee," Emma said tiredly. "I have to work." "Then let me come by your apartment. Please, Emma. I have an idea that I think could help you, but I need to explain it properly." Emma hesitated. She looked back at Sophia, who was watching them both curiously. Finally, she nodded. "Okay, tomorrow is Wednesday. I don't work until noon. You can come by in the morning, 10 o'clock. 10 o'clock, Alexander confirmed. "And Emma, please take some ibuprofen and ice that shoulder. Promise me." "I promise." They got out of the car, and Emma and Sophia slowly climbed the stairs to their 3rd-floor apartment. Once inside, Emma collapsed on the couch with a groan. Sophia hovered nearby, worried. "Mom, your head is bleeding again." "It's okay, baby. Can you get me the first aid kit?" Sophia brought the battered first aid kit from the bathroom, and Emma did her best to clean the cut on her forehead and bandage it. Then she made an ice pack from a bag of frozen peas wrapped in a dish towel and held it against her shoulder. "What happened to your bike?" Sophia asked. "It got wrecked in the accident. I'm not sure how I'm going to get to work tomorrow." "How did you get to work today?" "Mr. Chase drove me. He is the person I had the accident with." "Is he going to sue us?" Sophia's voice was small and frightened. Emma's heart broke. Her 8-year-old daughter should not have to worry about things like lawsuits. "No, baby. He is not going to sue us. He is actually being very kind. He wants to help us." "Why?" Emma pulled Sophia close with her good arm. "Because some people in the world are genuinely good, sweetheart. Not everyone, but some. I think Mr. Chase might be one of the good ones." That night, Emma barely slept. Her shoulder throbbed with pain, keeping her awake. She kept replaying the accident in her mind, kept thinking about Alexander and his story about his mother. She looked at his business card, sitting on her bedside table. Alexander Chase, CEO, Meditech Solutions. She pulled out her phone and searched for his company. Her eyes widened as she read. Meditech Solutions was one of the fastest-growing healthcare technology companies in the country. They had developed software that helped hospitals manage patient care more efficiently, reducing errors and saving lives. The company was worth billions, and Alexander Chase was its founder and CEO. Emma felt a flutter of anxiety in her stomach. This man was not just wealthy, he was incredibly wealthy. And here he was, spending his time helping her, a woman who cleaned houses for a living. It did not make sense. People like him did not help people like her. There had to be a catch. But even as she thought it, she remembered the look in his eyes when he told her about his mother. That had been real pain, real grief, and his offer to help had seemed genuine. Maybe, just maybe, he really was one of the good ones. The next morning, Emma woke up even earlier than usual. She wanted to clean the apartment before Alexander arrived. She did not want him to see how they really lived, even though he had already seen the building from the outside. She swept and mopped. She wiped down every surface. She made sure the dishes were washed and put away. Sophia helped, sensing her mother's nervous energy. At exactly 10 o'clock, there was a knock on the door. Emma took a deep breath and opened it. Alexander stood there, not in a suit this time, but in jeans and a dark blue sweater. He looked more relaxed, more approachable. He was holding 2 cups of coffee and a bag from what Emma recognized as an expensive bakery. "Good morning," he said with a warm smile. "I brought coffee and pastries. I hope that is okay." "You did not have to do that," Emma said, but she stepped aside to let him in. "I wanted to," Alexander said simply. He stepped inside and looked around the small apartment. Emma saw it through his eyes. The worn furniture, the peeling linoleum in the kitchen, the crack in the ceiling that the landlord refused to fix. But Alexander did not seem to notice any of that. His attention went immediately to the bookshelf made from boards and cinder blocks, packed with children's books. "Wow," he said, "that is quite a collection." "Sophia loves to read," Emma said, a note of pride in her voice. "I get books from the library sale whenever I can. They sell them for 25 cents each." Sophia appeared from the bedroom, cautious but curious. She was wearing her school uniform, a white polo shirt and navy blue skirt. "Hi, Mr. Chase," she said politely. "Hi, Sophia. I hope you like chocolate croissants. I brought extras." Sophia's eyes lit up. She loved chocolate croissants, but they rarely got them because they were expensive. "Thank you," she said, taking one from the bag. They sat down at the small kitchen table, and Alexander poured coffee for Emma and himself. Sophia ate her croissant and looked at Alexander with interest. "Do you have any kids, Mr. Chase?" she asked. "No, I do not. I never got married. I was always too focused on work." "That is sad," Sophia said matter-of-factly. "Everyone should have a family." Alexander smiled, but there was something wistful in his expression. "You are probably right, Sophia." Emma checked the time. "Sweetie, you need to get to school. The bus will be here in 10 minutes. Sophia grabbed her backpack and her books, gave Emma a careful hug to avoid her injured shoulder, and headed out the door. Once she was gone, Alexander turned to Emma with a serious expression. "How is your shoulder?" "Bad," Emma admitted. "I did not sleep much." "Emma, you need to see a doctor. Today. I am not asking anymore. I am telling you. I have already called my personal physician and made an appointment for you at 11 o'clock. He works out of a private practice, and I have already paid for the visit and any treatment you might need." "You can't just make decisions for me," Emma protested. "You are right, and I apologize for overstepping. But Emma, you are clearly in pain. You can't work like this. You can't take care of Sophia like this. Please, let me help you." Emma wanted to argue, but the truth was, she was in agony. And she was scared. What if her shoulder was seriously damaged? What if she could not work? What if she could not provide for Sophia? "Okay," she said quietly. "I will go to the doctor." "Good. I will drive you. The appointment is in 45 minutes. Emma looked down at her coffee. "What was it you wanted to talk to me about? You said you had an idea." Alexander leaned forward, his expression intense. "I have been thinking about your situation. You work multiple jobs, you are barely getting by, and one accident almost derailed everything. That is not sustainable, Emma. You are going to burn out, or get hurt, or get sick. And then what happens to Sophia?" Emma felt defensive. "I am doing the best I can. I know you are, and you are doing an amazing job. But what if there was a better way? What if you did not have to work 3 jobs just to make ends meet?" "I do not have a lot of options, Mr. Chase. I did not finish high school. I have no skills beyond cleaning and waiting tables. This is my reality." What if I helped you change that reality? Emma looked at him suspiciously. What do you mean? Alexander pulled out a folder from the bag he had brought with him. Inside were papers, documents, forms. I want to offer you a job, he said, working for me at Meditech Solutions. Emma almost laughed. Doing what? Cleaning your offices? No, Alexander said seriously. As my personal assistant. Emma stared at him. Now she was sure he was crazy. I cannot be anyone's personal assistant. I have no experience, no training. I told you, I did not even finish high school. You do not need a high school diploma to be organized, intelligent, and hardworking. And you are all of those things. My previous assistant just quit to move across the country with her husband, and I desperately need someone new. The job would pay $60,000 a year to start, plus full health benefits for you and Sophia. Emma's mouth fell open. $60,000? That was more money than she had ever dreamed of making. That was more than double what she made now working 3 jobs. This is too much, she said, shaking her head. You are offering this because you feel guilty about the accident. I cannot accept charity. It is not charity, Alexander insisted. I need an assistant. You need a job that pays better. This is mutually beneficial. And yes, maybe the timing is related to the accident, but that does not make the offer any less real. You would be working, Emma, earning your salary. This would not be a handout. What would I even do? Alexander pulled out a sheet of paper with a job description. You would manage my schedule, handle correspondence, coordinate meetings, do research, manage travel arrangements, things like that. I would train you. You would learn as you go. And who knows, maybe you would discover skills you did not know you had. Maybe this could be the start of a real career. Emma's hands were shaking as she read the job description. It sounded impossible. It sounded like something for someone smart, someone educated, someone who belonged in an office building. But it also sounded like hope. I don't know, she said softly. What if I am terrible at it? What if I let you down? Then we will figure it out together, Alexander said. Emma, I am not expecting you to be perfect. I am expecting you to try. That is all. Just try. Emma looked at him. This man who had crashed into her life, literally, less than 24 hours ago. This man who was offering her a chance at something better, something she had never thought possible. Can I think about it? She asked. Of course. Take all the time you need. They finished their coffee in silence, and then Alexander drove Emma to the doctor's office. It was in a building that looked more like a luxury hotel than a medical facility. The doctor, Dr. Morrison, was kind and thorough. He examined Emma's shoulder, took x-rays, and confirmed that it was dislocated but not broken. I can put it back in place right now, he said, but I will not lie to you. It is going to hurt. Just do it, Emma said, bracing herself. Dr. Morrison gave her some pain medication, waited for it to kick in, and then manipulated her shoulder back into place. Emma gasped at the sharp pain, but then felt immediate relief. The constant throbbing ache was gone. You will need to wear a sling for 2 weeks, Dr. Morrison said. No heavy lifting. Take ibuprofen for the pain and swelling, and come back in 2 weeks for a follow-up. Emma nodded, feeling dazed. Dr. Morrison cleaned and bandaged the cut on her forehead, checked her leg, and declared that she had a mild sprain, but nothing serious. You were very lucky, he said. This could have been much worse. After the appointment, Alexander drove Emma back to her apartment. She was quiet, processing everything that had happened. When they pulled up in front of her building, she turned to him. Thank you, she said, for everything. The doctor, the offer, all of it. I told you why you were doing this, but thank you. I told you, Alexander said gently, because it is the right thing to do. And because I see something in you, Emma. I see strength and determination and intelligence. I think you could do great things if you were given the chance. Emma felt tears welling up in her eyes again. She seemed to cry a lot around this man. I have spent my whole life just trying to survive, she said quietly. I have never thought about doing great things. Maybe it is time to start thinking about it. Emma wiped her eyes and nodded. Can I give you my answer about the job tomorrow? I want to sleep on it. I want to be sure I am making the right decision. Of course. Take all the time you need. Oh, and one more thing. Alexander reached into the back seat and pulled out a package. This is for you. Emma opened it and gasped. It was a brand new bicycle. Not a fancy racing bike, just a simple, sturdy commuter bike with a comfortable seat and a basket on the front. But it was beautiful, and it was new, and it was hers. I cannot accept this, she said automatically. Yes, you can. I destroyed your bicycle. I am replacing it. This is not up for debate. Emma ran her hand over the handlebars, feeling the smooth metal, the new rubber grips. She tried to remember the last time she owned something brand new. She could not. Thank you, she whispered. That night, Emma lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about Alexander's job offer. $60,000 a year. Health insurance for her and Sophia. A real career, not just a series of dead-end jobs. It sounded too good to be true. But what if it was true? What if this was her chance to give Sophia the life she deserved? To stop living paycheck to paycheck, to stop worrying about how she would pay the bills, to actually have savings for emergencies. Sophia knocked softly on the bedroom door and peeked in. Mom, are you awake? Come here, baby. Sophia climbed into bed next to Emma, cuddling close. How was your shoulder? Much better. The doctor fixed it.
That is good.
Sophia was quiet for a moment, then said, I like Mr. Chase. He seems nice. He is nice. He offered me a job today.
Really?
Sophia sat up, excited. What kind of job?
Working as his assistant. It would pay a lot more than what I make now, and we would have health insurance.
That sounds good, Mom. You should take it.
You think so? Yeah. You work so hard and you are always tired. Maybe this job would be better. And Mr. Chase seems like a good person.
Out of the mouths of babes, Emma thought. Her 8-year-old daughter had more clarity than she did. The next morning, Emma called the number on Alexander's business card. He answered on the first ring. Emma, is everything okay? Everything is fine. I wanted to give you my answer about the job. And? Yes, I will do it. I will be your assistant. She could hear the smile in Alexander's voice. That is wonderful. When can you start? I need to give notice at my current jobs. 2 weeks? 2 weeks is perfect. That will give me time to set up your office and get everything ready. Thank you, Emma. I think this is going to be great. Over the next 2 weeks, Emma worked out her notice at the houses she cleaned and at Rosita's. Mrs. Henderson was cold and dismissive when Emma gave her notice, barely even saying goodbye. But Carlos was happy for her. You deserve something better, mija, he said, hugging her carefully to avoid her still healing shoulder. Go do great things. On her last day, Alexander came to pick her up for her first day at Meditech Solutions. He had told her to dress professionally, so she had gone to a thrift store and found a black blazer and gray pants that looked decent. She felt nervous and out of place. Meditech Solutions was housed in a modern glass building downtown. Alexander led her through the lobby, past security, and up to the 20th floor. People greeted him as they walked, and he introduced Emma as his new assistant. Everyone was friendly and welcoming. Her office was next to his, a small but bright room with a desk, a computer, and a window that looked out over the city. It was the nicest workspace Emma had ever had. Alexander spent the first few days training her. He showed her how to use the computer systems, how to manage his calendar, how to handle emails and phone calls. Emma was terrified she would mess everything up. But Alexander was patient and encouraging. When she made mistakes, he didn't get angry. He just showed her how to fix them and move on. Slowly, over weeks and then months, Emma began to feel more confident. She learned the rhythms of the office, the names and faces of important clients, the ins and outs of Alexander's schedule. She discovered that she was good at this work. She was organized. She was detail-oriented. She could anticipate what Alexander needed before she even asked for it. And her life began to change. With her new salary and health insurance, Emma and Sophia moved to a better apartment in a safer neighborhood. Sophia was able to join the school's after-school reading club that Emma had never been able to afford before. Emma bought groceries without having to count every penny. She took Sophia to the movies on weekends. She started saving money. For the first time in her life, Emma felt like she was not just surviving, she was actually living. Alexander became more than just her boss. He became her friend, and Sophia's friend too. He came to Sophia's school events when Emma could not get away from work. He brought books for Sophia, always remembering what she liked to read. He taught Emma about business, about technology, about the world beyond the narrow confines of her previous life. One day, about 6 months after Emma started working at Meditech, Alexander called her into his office. "I have been thinking," he said. "You are doing such a great job as my assistant, but I wonder if you might want to do more." "More?" Emma asked, confused. "I am starting a new program here at Meditech. We are going to identify talented employees who might benefit from additional education and training, and we are going to pay for them to go to college or technical school. I want you to be part of the first cohort." Emma stared at him. "College? You could take classes at night or on weekends. Get your GED first, then an associate's degree, maybe eventually a bachelor's. In business administration or technology or whatever interests you. The company would pay for everything." Emma felt overwhelmed. College? She had never even dreamed of college. That was for other people, not for her. But why not her? Why not now? "I would like that," she said softly. "I would like that very much." Alexander smiled, that warm, genuine smile that she had come to know so well. "Then let us make it happen." 2 years later, Emma stood in her small apartment looking at herself in the mirror. She was wearing a black graduation gown and a cap. Today, she was receiving her associate's degree in business administration. She had done it. She had actually done it. There was a knock on the door. Emma opened it to find Alexander standing there holding a bouquet of flowers. Sophia was with him, jumping up and down with excitement. "We are here to escort you to your graduation," Alexander said formally, but his eyes were twinkling with pride. "You did not have to do this," Emma said, but she was smiling. She took the flowers and breathed in their sweet scent. "Are you kidding? I would not miss this for the world. You worked so hard for this, Emma. You should be proud. I am proud, and I owe so much of it to you." "No," Alexander said firmly. "You owe it to yourself. I just opened a door. You are the one who walked through it and did the work." They drove to the community college where the graduation ceremony was being held. Emma sat with her fellow graduates, listening to speeches about potential and possibility and the power of education. When her name was called, she walked across the stage to receive her diploma. She heard Sophia's voice above all the others, shouting, "That is my mom! That is my mom!" Emma looked out into the audience and saw Alexander on his feet, applauding as hard as he could. Tears streamed down her face, but this time they were tears of joy. After the ceremony, they went out for a celebratory dinner at a nice restaurant. Sophia was chattering excitedly about how her mom was the smartest person in the world. Alexander was quieter than usual, but he seemed happy. Finally, as they were finishing dessert, he cleared his throat. "I have something to tell you both," he said. Emma looked at him, concerned by his serious tone. "What is it? Is something wrong?" "No, nothing is wrong. I just wanted you to know that I am proud of you, Emma. These past 2 years, watching you work so hard, watching you achieve so much, has been one of the greatest privileges of my life." "Thank you," Emma said, confused about where this was going. "And I wanted you to know that you and Sophia have become like family to me. I do not have much family left. My father died years ago, and I am an only child. You two have filled a hole in my life that I didn't even know was there." Sophia reached across the table and took Alexander's hand. "You are like family to us, too, Mr. Chase, like an uncle, or maybe even a dad." Alexander's eyes filled with tears. "That means more to me than you know, Sophia." Emma felt her heart swell with emotion. It was true. Alexander had become so much more than her boss, more than her friend. He was someone she trusted completely, someone she cared about deeply, someone who had fundamentally changed the trajectory of her life and Sophia's. As they drove home that night, Emma reflected on the accident that had brought Alexander into her life. If someone had told her that morning 2 years ago, as she lay bleeding on the pavement next to her destroyed bicycle, that she would end up with a college degree, a real career, and a family that extended beyond just her and Sophia, she never would have believed it. But that was the thing about life. Sometimes the worst moments led to the best outcomes. Sometimes tragedy opened doors to unexpected joy. Sometimes a collision with a stranger turned into a collision with destiny. Emma looked over at Alexander, driving carefully through the night, and at Sophia in the back seat, already half asleep with her head against the window. This was her family now. Strange and unconventional and absolutely perfect. She had crashed into a luxury car with her old bicycle, expecting her life to fall apart. Instead, her life had finally come together in ways she never could have imagined. And it all started with one man's decision to do the right thing, to see her as a human being worthy of help and not just an inconvenience. One man's compassion had changed everything. Emma reached over and gently touched Alexander's arm. "Thank you," she said softly, "for everything." Alexander glanced at her and smiled. "Thank you, Emma, for letting me help, for giving me a chance to be part of something meaningful, for reminding me why I work so hard, what really matters." They drove on through the night, heading home, heading toward whatever the future held, together.